Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Chicks, One Show, where we talk about one currently airing show, an episode a week as it airs. We are back on the Outlander trail. It's episode 2, aired this past Saturday, and a lot happened with one of my favorite characters, Geillis. So Kate is going to tell us what happened in the episode.
Okay, so basically, Jaime is still on the hunt to get the price that's on his head lifted. So he seeks some advice and advisory from the Duke of Sandringham.
Sandringham.
Meanwhile, Claire's having some, drama, like Real Housewives kind of drama. Lohair.
Fan.
Huh?
Lair. I think it's Lair or I don't know. Whatever.
She
that
sounds like
chick.
Like, yeah, little stalker girl. Trisha's calling her swim fan. I'm gonna call her little stalker girl.
I think swim fan sums it up really well, even if all of our viewers are 12.
Yeah. And have no idea what swim fan is.
Anyway.
So Claire has a confrontation with her. Meanwhile, she's learning a lot about our resident witch.
Hmm?
And her friendship is getting a little mucky with Geillis. So that's pretty much the episode. There's a lot of little things that we need to discuss because a lot happens. Whereas in the first episode, it was a little anticlimactic, where this one we're just like getting stuff thrown in our faces and you're just like, what?
Yeah, they have to do a lot to get us to the next episode, to get us to the rest of the season. Mm-hmm. But as we'll talk about, as if you haven't watched our last episode, we've altered some of the format of this where I've read the book, so I know what's happening and what's different. Kate has not read the book, so she's coming into it very blindly. So as we'll talk about in this episode, they changed a lot of things around, I think just to up the drama of the episode, because in the book the story is a lot simpler.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in a second. So where shall we start?
I mean, I guess we should just get the Jaime stuff out of the way, because Jaime's not really that relevant to this episode per se.
Yes.
He's kind of he kind of disappears halfway through it.
And a lot of that stuff, part of that is because a lot of that was created for the show. The Duke of Sandringham shows up, and as we know from previous episodes, the Duke of Sandringham is also the English noble who is more or less protecting Jack Randall from his own misdeeds.
I just want to say I'm very happy that even though it was a flashback and we've seen it already, we did get to see a little Frank.
I know, I miss Frank. I love him so much.
I miss Frank. So we did get to see a little Frank in a flashback that we've seen several times at this point. But
yeah,
still,
like 2 or 3 at this point.
So we finally meet this Duke who apparently is helping out BJ in his shenanigans in Scotland. But we also kind of learn that the Duke is kind of playing both sides. He's also kind of a friend of the Scottish Rebellion, which is a little odd, and he likes the way Jaime looks.
Yes, they don't go into a lot of detail, but I did like the way that they alluded to it, is that the Duke of Sandringham is fond of young men.
And we kind of assume that because Blackjack played that whole thing on Claire last part, Outlander Season 1, Volume 1, where he said, well, the Duke isn't married. So, so he likes good-looking men, and Jaime is a good-looking man, so the Duke has good taste.
Yes, he does. And that may also come into why he has sort of a fondness for Jack, too. But so Jaime is trying to appeal to the Duke to allow him to, essentially, they're petitioning him to sanction Blackjack and sort of send him away, and then clear Jaime's name, give him a pardon so that he can go home to Lellybrook.
Yes.
Blah, blah, blah. So that actually, the Duke is agreeable after Claire threatens him, because she says, I know that you are a Jacobite and that Dougal gives you money. So you should totally pardon my husband, or I will tell people. And so he decides to agree on certain conditions.
Yes.
One of them being that he has to help. Jaime has to be his second in a duel with a rival clan.
Yeah, the Malcolms?
Yeah, I think so. Malcolm.
Or something like that.
I think
Yeah.
Malcolm. Sounds right.
Yeah. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that is that the only he doesn't make Claire do anything, right?
No, he just makes Jaime do stuff.
Yeah. So Jaime has to partake in a duel, which is it was so stupid because they didn't even really shoot at each other. Like it was a pointless duel. And it's over and done with, and then the boys of the father that dueled the Duke started saying stuff, and Jaime, like it was kind of like a bar fight kind of thing, and it ended up with them just, fighting in the dirt, and then the Duke just runs away and says, "Okay, I gave you a pardon." And then it's like, "Yay, woo!" Bearded Bestie is like so happy because he wants to go home really bad. So,
understandably,
yeah,
I don't want to deal with these stupid Mackenzies anymore.
Jeez. Drama in Castle Leoch is at an all-time high.
Oh yes. Now, all of that doesn't, I don't believe anyway. I don't remember it taking place. Certainly, we don't see it because Claire isn't there, and the entire book takes place from Claire's perspective. So I'm pretty sure all of that was created for the show. Yeah, and but Jaime pretty much in the book just sort of sucks up to the Duke.
Yeah. Which is, I guess that's equivalent to what we saw in the show as him,
Yeah, I think it was just a more interesting, more dramatic, active.
It also gives a different dimension to the Duke, where it's a new character we're meeting and we're getting to know more about him. So, adding to character development.
I agree. It wasn't a bad thing to add. It was nice. I liked it. It gives you some more stuff to talk about and see, and the Duke is a doofus.
I like him.
He's a doofus. I don't know. But then, meanwhile, all of that is going on. There is a whole lot of drama going on down at Castle Leoch. In the last episode, Claire and Jaime discover that Swimfan has left an ill wish under their bed because she's a bitch.
A weirdo, and I really don't like her.
Total. She's got crazy eyes going on. Yeah. And so Claire confronts her in the kitchens. Now keep in mind, I think her name is Leia. She is the granddaughter of Mrs. Fitz.
Yes.
We love. So it's unfortunate that her granddaughter is such a jerk.
But I think like Miss Fitz knows that her granddaughter is like a psycho. Like she doesn't like. I don't think she like is surprised.
Probably not. I also don't think she necessarily knows the extent that she's gone to.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Claire confronts her and she's like, "Yeah, of course I did it. I don't like you and I want Jaime to leave you because he will be with me, bitch." And then she's like, "Oh, by the way, you should think about your friend Geillis down there in the town because she's the one that gave it to me."
Yeah, I do think the best part was when she called her a cold-hearted English bitch and then Claire slapped her.
Claire slapped her. She's like, "I'm sorry."
That was pretty good. Typical Claire move. But yeah, so Claire's now like, "Well, why did my friend do that?" So she goes storming down there.
Yeah, she goes down to her house and she sees her flatulent husband being exceedingly flatulent.
Yeah, more so than usual.
Yeah, more so than usual. He's in a lot of pain. And she gives him something, and then he tells her, or their handmaid or whatever tells her that Geillis is in the woods. So she goes to the woods to find her, and she sees Geillis doing this sort of dance ritual thing, reminiscent of the dance ritual thing that we saw all the druid ladies doing at the beginning in the first episode, back in 1945.
Yes.
So Geillis is a witch.
No surprise.
No one is surprised.
No one is surprised.
None of the people.
No. And then continually being the Geillis that we now know and kind of love, she knows Claire's there the whole time. So when she's done, she goes, "Oh, Claire, you can come out from behind the trees."
Oh, and big surprise, Geillis is pregnant.
Yes. And bigger surprise, Dougal's the one that knocked her up.
Dun, dun, dun! I knew that the whole time.
Yeah. I honestly would never have guessed that in a million years. I also had no idea that Dougal was married.
Yeah, I was surprised they brought it up at all.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't alluded to it at all before. In the book, Dougal has daughters.
Okay.
And his daughters are there.
Yeah. He could have daughters.
Yeah, I mean, he could still have daughters, but,
Mhm.
like, it was a part of the story where Dougal is married, has daughters, there's, like, a whole separate family, and his wife is mentioned. So you know the whole time that he is married. Whereas in the show, I figured they were ignoring it, and then they would just introduce the whole, he's having an affair with Geillis, and it's bad because she's married, and, oh, by the way, she's a witch.
Yeah.
That would have made a little more sense to me, except that they were obviously very specifically driving home the she's a witch part with the doing the ceremony to get rid of his wife, and then his wife dies as if consumed by fire
Within like 24 hours of the light dance.
Of the crazy light fire ceremony.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, what Geillis tells Claire she was doing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So Geillis is a witch, and we start to get a lot more information about Geillis. She also becomes really very sinister.
Yes.
Because obviously she harbors ill will toward Dougal's wife because she's in love with Dougal and wants to be with him, and her husband is fat and flatulent and horrible.
And then they make it seem like Dougal's wife has been ill. She like couldn't handle the
Yeah, I think she, in today's day and age, I think that we would say she has like a nervous problem, like a nervous disorder.
Like anxiety, like she can't handle going to like gatherings and like being at Castle Yall because of all the people. She'd rather be private. So, I guess Dougal just thinks I guess back then they just think she's mad. So she is locked up in a tower like Rapunzel, and Dougal can kind of just do whatever he wants.
Yeah, more or less. And I don't think it comes as a surprise to anyone that Dougal takes it up with another eligible woman in town.
She's not really eligible because she is married.
Right, this is true. She's not really eligible. But that's another thing that they did a lot to change. And now, eventually we'll get to this, but we discovered that Kate was wrong about her predictions about a baby. She thought Leia was, we're gonna go with that because I can't remember her real name, that she was gonna be the one who was pregnant and that Claire would have to deliver the baby and blah 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 blah. Turns out incorrect. Now in the book they changed things up. They put it in a different order. So Claire overhears Dougal and Colum arguing about a child and how, like, need to take care of it. Leia is outside the door when this is going on. Claire thinks that Leia is the one who's pregnant and Dougal is the father.
Okay.
She eventually discovers much later, like after the arrest, that Geillis is the one who's pregnant and that Dougal is the father and that Leia is just a bitch.
Okay.
So a lot of this happens in a different order, but I think because of the way they structured it, that they did it to increase the tension and the drama in this episode, which is not necessarily wrong.
Yeah.
I think they did I think they did decently with that. Things instead of happening, they would have, if they'd kept the same structure, all of the Geillis revelations would have happened at the end of this episode, and that would have been, I think it would have felt unbalanced.
Yeah, I think it would be way too rushed if they did all of that at the end. I think
in the book there is no ritual, there's no crazy fire ritual. There's just, she shows up at Geillis' house at the end, and then all of this stuff all of a sudden comes out.
Yeah.
There is, however, the revelation that, yes, Leia is the one who bought the ill wish, and Geillis gave it to her not knowing who it was meant for.
Mm-hmm. And then Claire hears a baby in the woods. Do we want to talk about that? The fairy?
Yeah, actually, that's going to be important.
I'm not surprised. We are in Scotland, and we've talked about pagan stuff a lot. So, I'm not surprised that we believe in fairies now, but apparently fairies and babies and ill babies and stuff are getting exchanged. So I don't know.
Explain it.
If you want to explain it, because
okay.
So
Claire hears a baby. Geillis tells her that it's a changeling. At this time period, and obviously previously, there's a lot of superstition, and changelings are when a baby is born that is ill or weak or malformed or anything, birth defects, stuff like that. They believe that the fairies have taken the real child and left a changeling fairy child in its place. And they think that if you leave the child out, that the fairies will come and swap them back, and then you'll be able to come and take the baby. Otherwise, the baby dies, and they don't think it's a real child that died. They think it's a changeling. It's more of a coping mechanism than anything that your child was killed. But mythologically speaking, fairies stole children, so it was an easy excuse. Claire, of course, being from 1945, is like, that's bullshit. That's a baby.
Yeah.
And goes and tries to save it. She finds the child, picks it up, and it dies in her arms.
Typical Claire. Typical Claire.
Typical Claire. Now, again, that's a big change from the book. Originally, she and Geillis find the child. Geillis convinces her to put it down, because if they know that because the parents are usually watching to see if the fairies will make the exchange. So if they see you pick up the child and put it down and the child dies, they're going to blame you, and they can name you a witch and blah, 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 blah. And then they leave, and Jaime finds the child, tells her it's dead. It basically happens in a stupid order. It's much better the way they did it. They did it in the show because it was much more, visually anyway, it was much more emotional.
Yes.
Woohoo, emotion.
So yeah, so there's fairies.
There are fairies. There aren't, I think they've pretty much established, I don't know if they've established in the show that magic and things in mythology aren't real. In the book, it's up for debate in a lot of ways. They do establish this thing where Geillis' spell seems to work, so I don't know where they're going with that.
It's a fine line because, they believe in witchcraft, but they also seek it out for assistance. So, like, they're getting, spoiler, Claire and Geillis are going to be on trial for being witchcraft, but a lot of the people in town have praised them for helping them with certain things.
That's not actually historically incorrect. That happened a lot.
Which, yeah, I know. I think it's crazy.
Yeah, it's totally crazy, but it's correct. Like that was how the witch trials happened. I mean, people were always going to these women who were healers and helpful until they weren't.
Yeah, until they fuck up one time, or they have a little stalker girl following them, and things get bad.
Or it's the whole Hester Prynne thing where she has the whole adultery thing, and then things like that. So the whole changeling thing happens. That is something that is a notch against Claire. The healing thing is too, but the way that Claire does it, she and Geillis they approach their crafts very differently. And I think the townspeople understand that and agree with it, where Claire obviously approaches it clinically. Geillis plays up the mysticism.
Well, yeah. Because for the most part, Geillis thinks she's untouchable. She's had a powerful husband, and now she has a powerful lover. So I think Geillis always thought, well, what's it matter? They're going to call me a witch, so let me pretend let me just put on an act for them. They can't touch me.
Right, exactly.
Until now.
Until very soon.
Yeah.
So because the Duke is in town, there's, a big party. And everybody attends, all the people in town. So Geillis is there with her husband, and then things go awry.
Yeah, very fast.
Yes.
We should mention that Dougal's wife does die. He makes a whole big episode, which I guess was just for show, because the next night he's fine.
I think he does. I mean, I think he did love his wife. It was just he loved two women at the same time.
Yeah.
Or differently.
I guess. Whatever.
I don't know. He obviously is upset by his wife's death. Whether he's upset because he feels guilty or because he actually cared, I don't know if that's a, big issue at hand.
But yeah, so all of a sudden, Sir Farts-a-Lot starts to, I don't know. So, starts to choke, like, awfully in the middle of the frickin', hall. Claire, of course, goes running, and they're like, oh, he's choking. If he was freaking choking, why is he foaming at the damn mouth, people?
Well, they don't know.
They should know the difference between choking and, foaming. Like, he looked like he had freaking rabies, for Christ's sake. Like, what did he eat? Foam? Like, I don't, like...
Is he choking on seawater?
Yeah, that's what it looked like. I was like, you guys, like, I know it's the 18th century, but you guys are a little bit smart. So it takes like all of 30 seconds, and the guy is down. He's dead. Geillis is, instead of looking at her husband, worried about her husband, is just staring at Dougal the whole time. And then as soon as Claire goes, he's dead, then she lets out this roar and puts on this whole big act, while Dougal is like grinning like, the Cheshire Cat. And for some odd reason, Colum picks up on all of this.
Mm-hmm. He's very perceptive.
Yeah, notices and he is pissed. Colum is I don't know what crawled up his ass while they were gone, but he is grumpy McGrumpants, and he is pissed at his brother.
Yes, he is. So at this point, Claire also notices that, because she tries to give, what did you call him? Sir Fartsalot? She tries to give Sir Fartsalot CPR, and she tastes bitter almonds, which is the catch-all symbol for cyanide. And she realizes that he has been poisoned, and knowing what she knows about Geillis, has been poisoned by Geillis. Dun, dun, dun. So at this point, Colum is pissed, and he sends Dougal away.
Yeah, they don't really make it. They seem like he's banishing it. In the preview for next week, he sends Dougal to attend his wife's funeral. Colum doesn't say that, but that is what the notion is, because Claire does say that to Geillis next episode. And because he's so pissed off, he doesn't trust Dougal to not go see his, whore or whatever. He makes Jaime and Rupert and Bearded Bestie and Angus go with him. So poor Jaime, who's finally making progress, now has to go babysit Dougal.
Yep. And in the process, as they're about to leave, he warns Claire, do not visit Geillis Duncan.
Yeah.
She is bad news. Now that Dougal is leaving, knowing what we know and what's happened and everything, Colum is pissed, and he is probably going to take it out on her.
Yeah, Colum knows that she probably poisoned her husband, and that even though she might be pregnant with her brother's child, he says, well, that's not your son. That's, that's Duncan's son. Or Duncan.
Just like Hamish is my son.
So you're like, oh, shit, he's not even going to be able to raise the kid. So Dougal kind of leaves with his tail between his legs, and Jaime has to leave Claire, and that's never a good thing.
No, never ever a good thing.
Claire should never be left alone, because she's too trusting of people.
Way too much.
So she's attending, which I thought was interesting. I don't know, I might be reading into it a little bit too much, that she happens to be attending to a burn that Miss Fitz has when she gets this mysterious note from Miss Fitz's nephew.
Yes.
There's a lot of intertwining here. And it's apparently a note from Geillis saying, come quick. Now, I'd be like, bitch, please, if I were Claire. But clearly, I'm not Claire. And she goes galloping to Geillis' house.
And Geillis, meanwhile, says, I didn't write you any note. Yeah. That's weird. But whatever. She's not worried about anything that's about to happen to her. And Claire says, you need to leave right now.
But she doesn't know that Dougal has left. No one's told Geillis that Dougal has left. So she thinks she's still golden. She doesn't know that Colum knows anything. And Claire's trying to explain this to her, but she doesn't say the words like, Dougal's gone, Colum knows, so Geillis isn't paying attention.
Right, exactly. And all the while, now there's a banging at the door, and it is a bunch of people who are going to arrest her for witchcraft. Geillis is being stubborn and stupid and says, that's fine, let them in. And her handmaiden lets them in, and they arrest not just her, but also Claire, both on charges of witchcraft. And that's the end of the episode. Now, I should point out, we were talking about how you were saying how, it's ridiculous that she would think this note is anything other than a trap. And you're not wrong. I mean, I thought the exact same thing going into this. Like, she now has all of these suspicions of Geillis. She knows Geillis killed her husband. She knows Geillis had something to do, at least with the ill will toward Dougal's wife, that all of this is happening. She has no reason to trust this woman besides her, as she says, being her only friend. That's one of the ways that the book is actually a little more successful, because all that stuff is piled on at the end. When Claire gets the note, she honestly thinks that now that her friend is, in trouble, that her friend is in trouble, that her friend who just lost her husband is going through something, and she wants to, despite the fact that she's been told not to go see her, she wants to go see her. So it makes some more sense that when she gets there, Geillis is like, I didn't send the note, but, blah, 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 some stuff. And then Claire suddenly starts to realize she poisoned her husband. She actually tells her it took him way too long to die. Because she reveals that she's pregnant and says it's not his, it's Dougal's, and I was trying to kill him way before.
Yeah.
And finally that's why he was so flatulent. Was because she had been slowly poisoning him in his food, and he was starting to get suspicious.
I mean, as soon as she started giving him stuff, I figured she was trying to poison him.
And then finally she decides just to use cyanide to kill him.
Yeah.
And she does. And Claire figures it out. Claire's face goes numb when she gives him CPR in the book. It's a thing.
I mean, I like the way the episode did it, but yeah, I think that is the one flaw, is kind of after Claire knows all this stuff and after Jaime tells her not to go, she still goes. But then for me, it still makes sense because it's something that Claire would do because I find it annoying. It's something, not that I dislike Claire, but it's just Claire constantly has, a record for doing these kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Also different in the book is the fact that Jaime doesn't know about the ill wish. Claire doesn't know who put the ill wish under the bed, so Leia is the one who tells her that Geillis needs to see her.
Yeah.
So it's subtle changes, it's small things, and for the most part, I think they did a very good job smushing it and sort of mixing it in together to make a heightened sense of drama throughout the episode versus just in big chunks. I think they did a really good job. The only place that I thought the logic ended up failing was in the note and the suspension of disbelief that Claire would make a dumb decision like that.
Yeah.
But other than that, I thought they did a very good job, and I really can't wait till the next episode, because the next episode is the witch trial.
Yeah. And they get thrown into the wagon, and as they're rolling or driving away, I don't know, Claire does see a little stalker girl, and she puts the pieces together.
Every time you say that, I just think of the little match girl.
Little stalker girl. So next week is all straight up Outlander witch trial. They shove Geillis and Claire in a bunker, kind of.
The cell. It seemed in the book, it wasn't described terribly well. It always felt to me like an oubliette, a thing that only opens from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Which are way creepier than regular cells.
Well, they're in a hole.
Yeah.
And there's
I didn't see the preview for next week.
Oh, okay. Well, they are. They're in a hole in the ground with a gate over it, and Claire's going like this, and
that's an oubliette.
Yeah. So they're in that.
They're in that thing. I am expanding your vocabulary one episode at a time. Okay, oubliette.
Sure.
It's the next Files episode. It's a good one.
That word. So basically, and I was discussing this with you before we went on air, I kind of wish that the trial happened later in the series, because you kind of know it's only going to be one episode, and you know that Jaime's going to come riding in on his white horse and save the day as usual, or someone is, maybe Rupert, maybe Angus, that would be even better. Bearded bestie come in, beheading people with
and obviously I'm not going to pretend that you're wrong. That's easy. I mean, of course, something is going to happen. Someone's going to get saved. People are going to get saved. All of them are going to get saved. Things are going to happen. We just don't know. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. You just know that something will, because this is only one episode, and it's going to play out. There are still, after this episode airs, there are still 5 episodes left.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of plot still left to happen, and of course it can't happen without Claire.
Yeah, exactly. And we know, like, you know that they have to go.
Sorry.
You know that they have to go back to Jamie's house. I know that I'm freaking waiting for Jenny to come in. I'm so excited to meet Jenny, and we have not met Jenny yet and her husband. I know there hasn't been that much BJ.
I think we should point out that the reason you're really excited for Jenny is because a BuzzFeed quiz told you that you were Jenny.
I mean, I need to know. I mean, you got Claire, so you know automatically, like, everything. Like, I've got a character I haven't even met yet. So the suspense is killing me.
Anyway, but at the same time, even though you know what the outcome is going to be, at least in some sense, you know, an inkling of what will happen. I think that knowing what I know about what happens in the next few scenes, few plot points, I don't think that matters.
No, like, I'm still, I can't wait till Saturday, don't get me wrong. I'm still going to love every second of it. It's just, for me, a trial episode, like, within a series is always towards the end, and this one is so early within the series.
But that also might give you an idea of what kind of drama is yet to come.
I mean, yeah, like, if they're getting this shit out of the way fast, some hardcore crap must be coming down the line that I'm not even foreseeing.
Yeah, because, I mean, you know, Blackjack has been built up as the series villain, so, like, the finale thing, it can't be a witch trial. It has to be something with Blackjack. It has to be something, anyway. Or something having to do with time travel. It has to be one of those two things.
Yeah, and we haven't really seen Blackjack, so I know he's kind of like, right now, our villain is Little Stalker Girl, is, like, who I'm focusing on, but really, the main element is Blackjack and, yeah, the time travel. So, I mean, there's still a lot of stories they'll get to. So, I guess as much as I like to think that the witchcraft is a big deal, I really don't think it's going to be that big of a deal after this episode.
And I'm just excited because I like this scene in the book. So I love everything that they've done with the book so far, the things they've changed. They've done a great job changing. And so I'm really interested to see how this whole thing plays out. Yeah. And I think it will be very interesting. And do you have any predictions besides Jaime coming in and sweeping up and saving the day?
I don't know. Like, as much as I think it's going to be Jaime, I don't know if it is going to be Jaime. You know, like, I know, and I don't know if they did it on purpose or not, but I know I saw Rupert and Angus in the courtroom. So I know that they show up. And it was like a split thing within the preview. So, but I did not see Jaime, and I know there's a lot of yelling. I just think it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and if maybe Claire can never return to Castle Leoch after this trial. Who the hell knows? And that's why they have to go to Jaime's home, or maybe they escape. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe Geillis dies, she gets stoned, and Claire survives, and they escape the... Who knows, really? I just don't know. Those are my predictions. My prediction is Geillis gets stoned and Jaime somehow is able to save Claire, and they have to now go on the run. So Jaime's name's now clear, but Claire's isn't.
There you go. So much drama in your brain.
I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight because I'm just going to be thinking about this.
You're going to have to be sleeping for the next several days waiting for this to happen.
Now that you asked me what I think is going to happen, now I'm like, oh my God. Now I'm actually thinking about it.
Oh my God, not thinking.
Yeah.
I think that wraps it up for us here. I do want to point out a development in the Augie to Me TV YouTube channel is that we were originally going to do 2 episodes a week once Outlander and Game of Thrones started up. But because of my ridiculous schedule, we've decided just to stick with Outlander on this show, and Kate has launched her own series that I would like her to talk to you about.
Yeah, so I'm doing a new weekly vlog called The Word from Westeros, and it's all about Game of Thrones. No surprise. I would hope that you would get that from the title, but if you don't, let me know. Maybe I have to change it. But yeah, it's all about just me being a complete and utter freaking Game of Thrones dork and just talking to a camera about Game of Thrones because my family and friends are like getting ready to like punch me in the face. So if you're into Game of Thrones, check it out. It's on this YouTube channel, so you don't have to go anywhere else. So why not?
And I'll make sure that there's a link to the first episode. It's a recap of the last season Kate attempts to recap the entire 4th season of Game of Thrones in 1 minute and fails miserably.
Yeah. I was like, it wasn't too, I mean, I did one take where I was like 12 minutes in. So considering that I got it down to like 2 minutes, I think I deserve a pat on the back. So
I can't reach, you're far away.
Yeah, I'll do it for me. So go me.
Yes, go you. So that's it for us. We'll be back next week. Outlander airs every Saturday on Stars at 9 p.m. This show airs every Wednesday at 6 right here on All Geek to Me TV on YouTube. We also air, of course, on the Google Hangout page and on allgeektome.net. You can see, comment, leave us your comments, what you thought about the episode, what you think will happen next week, how you feel about the changes that they're making. You can make comments down below in whatever format you're on or on Twitter. She is at Kate Calabro. I am at Trisha Ennis. We're also hashtag 2chicks1show. We love hearing from you guys, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, let me know if I'm right, because Trisha won't tell me anything.
I refuse! Anarchy!